Hey, Pastor Ray Barnett here. Glad that you could be with me at the Oasis, or on the Oasis. As always, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. For those of you who have been subscribed for some time now, 2 years we've been together, you'll notice that my daily broadcast has been anything but daily. I think the last time I made a video for you has been over a month ago. 2022, oddly enough, which we here at the Oasis decided would be the year that we overcome our symptoms completely. And I know some of you have committed to that because you have written to me and told me so and how your progress has been. Was no sooner that we made that declaration that I ran into a spate of busyness, just a lot of stuff. And anyway, my ambition is to get back up to a daily broadcast with you, and particularly because the times we live in since the last time I spoke with you. Oh, we've had so many mass shootings. Horrible things, terrible things. And as I've mentioned in times past, this, ordinarily at least, this is definitely affecting your battles with mental health and nervous symptoms and so on. Anyway, I would appreciate your prayers for me. I know over the course of the last 2 years, many of you have contacted me for prayer, and when you do, I actually pray for you by name, and I pray for your situation as you explain it. So I do pray for you. Some of you stick in my mind, and sometimes it's weeks later and I still remember that prayer request, and I'll lift it up in prayer. Anyway, I would appreciate your prayers for me. It seems that the enemy, Satan, just wants to keep me constantly busy with things and kind of spin my wheels. Anyway, just pray, and I'd appreciate that. Just a little over 1 hour ago, I have some work. My wife and I have some work being done on our home. Actually, this is the garage, and I was speaking to the contractor that I hired. And I have a belief. Now, 45 years in the ministry dealing with people, you learn a lot. And I've come to a conclusion. It's not a belief. It's come to a conclusion. Everybody has a story. Everyone has a story. You have a story. We all have a story. So while the older man was waiting for the younger man to come back from a lunch break, he and I just talking a little bit. Nice man, nice guy. And I don't know how the subject came up, I really don't, but it began to tell me how at 11 years old, his father and mother went through a divorce. Well, there's nothing too uncommon about that. But what they did, the mother said to him, now he's 11 years old, right? Parents are getting divorced. And the mother says to him, "You're not coming with me. I don't want you." He's 11 years old. So, very distraught and confused and maybe angry and whatever else, depressed, he went to his father. And his father says, I'm moving on with my life. At 11 years old, this conversation just took place just a little over an hour ago. At 11 years old, he was completely abandoned. He's from the area here, not too far from here is Schenectady, New York, and that's where he was. And he explained how he survived, how he kept himself warm by just walking for miles and miles back and forth. And we were talking about this. Yet, in the end, he became a successful contractor, married, 6 children, still married, 6 children, owned up to his own responsibilities. At some point in time, he actually went through at least part of a winter before one day he ran into his grandmother in the store. And she was like, where have you been? Anyway, she took him in, and he began, to live with her until he was on his own. And he told me he would go like to construction sites, and he would just ask the guys, can I earn a few bucks just picking up the scraps for you, whatever. And they would say, sure, go ahead. So he'd earn a couple bucks this way and that way. And what he said I would do, though, is while I was picking up the scraps, I'd watch what they were doing, how they were framing the house or whatever they were doing. Well, eventually he went into his own contracting business. And as I said, he's successful. I wouldn't say multi-millionaire is successful, but there's a problem too. I mean, come on. I'm around enough to hear enough stupidity. Really? I mean, your life is defined by how much money that you made? See, I deal with raw materials most of the time. I'm dealing with people who are really, really down. And for me, I don't say, hey, you know what? You should set your goal on becoming really, successful, multi-millionaire. I mean, come on. That's really success for people? How much money? Look, I know people I know millionaires. I mean, personally know them. And in some cases, more than one case, hundreds of millions. I've never found them to be, well, at least I've never found them to be any happier than the average guy like you, average gal like you, who just goes through life and is, takes care of your business. Just to do what you have to do, take care of your responsibilities. So, anyway, he's a successful guy. He worked all his life. He's paid his bills. He's got a home. He's got his children, and so on. Now, I bring up that story to kind of give you some motivation, because this channel is dedicated to anxiety, nervous symptoms, depression, and so on. And it occurs to me, if you could be literally abandoned at 11 years old, and I want to just say this in the hopes that I'm not misunderstood. This is a white male like me. Now, why am I even bringing that up? The media has a way of always presenting the people who have real problems are in the minority class. They're a certain class of people, certain colored people, all that. Well, I've been almost a half a century in ministry, and I can tell you, color has nothing to do with, well, color in America, color will have nothing to do with whether you can make it or not. That was what we were discussing. I said, well, it's really down to an act of the will, isn't it? He could have went through his whole life playing the victim, and he would have had every right to play a victim, right? 11 years old, abandoned by father, abandoned by mother, a bitter guy now. I'm thinking he's maybe in his 50s. A bitter man, all my life, all this. But this is what we see on the media all the time. And don't you be fooled that this is being done on purpose. Okay. I just mentioned that to say that, we're hearing a lot of stuff that makes it look like, if you're in this class, again, certain color, certain race, you have it rough and the rest of us all have it easy. As you know from me telling my story, I did not have it easy at all. It had nothing to do with the color of my skin. Zero. Nothing. This had to do with the fact that fate, oh God, picked me out and said, all right, here we go. And so what I'm trying to convey to you is this. Remember the song, or those of you who are old enough to remember, in the 60s, you can make it if you try. Well, some people believe that. I'm one who believes it, still believe it. And some don't. The question is, for you today, what are you going to do? This man who's still at my house, I'll see him when I get back there. I'll work him. He could be, I could have had another contractor because, man, this guy doesn't exist. Could have lived his life on drugs and, or who knows where, but he could have just went through his life bitter and he chose not to. And when you really get down to it, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're up against, bad marriage, children, marriage and children, work, the government, the president, on and on and on. I don't even listen to this stuff much anymore. I keep up on the news. I know what's going on. And then I just pray about it, dismiss it, because I've got my own business I've got to take care of. My ministry, I mean. I'm much closer to 70 now than I am to 60, that's for sure. I'm edging up closer to 70 years old. And I'm not retired. I'm still in the trenches working. And the reason that I do is because, A, I feel this is truly my destiny. And I say to myself, what's going to become, well, of people like you? If I just go about my way and just start fishing every day, not that fishing is wrong, I'm just saying, I just say, that's it, I'm all done, you know, it's all about me. I've put in enough years, I really have put in enough years. I've been working since I was 15. Put in enough years, no one's going to say, well, you can't blame the guy, you know. Or no one's going to say, you know, you can blame the guy. You're going to say, well, you can't blame the guy. But here's what motivates me. There's people like you that you need the expertise and the experience that I have. It's for my own children who, you know, they're in their anywhere from late 30s to early 30s now. I have 5 children. And really for the young people. My grandchildren, one is only a couple months old. The oldest is 18, but you know, we have 13 grandchildren, so there's a lot in between. That's what keeps me going. If it was up to me, I could be content just sitting here reading the book, reading my Bible. But to me, that's more of like a cop-out. If my health failed me or something, or God forbid, or something comes in the way, then okay, so well, fate, you know, God's providence directed me that way. But unless that happens, I want to keep on going forward, keep on conquering. So again, here's my question to you. I started out by saying everybody has a story. Certainly you that subscribe to this channel, you have a story to tell. But I guess what I'm really getting at is this. If a man who I just talked to, once again, well, now it's an hour and a half ago, not long, right? If a man who was abandoned when he was 11 years old can make it to where he's at today, and granted he's not going to be invited on any of the late night shows, or maybe even have his own YouTube video, which he probably could help a lot of people. I mean, if he could make it, you can make it. I did tell him this. I said, well, in the church, and my view of life is this. I like the word we. If we stick together, we will make it. That kind of support, that's what this channel is all about. It's about giving you not just information, it's about exhortation. I'm an exhorter on top of, you know, being a teacher, to exhort you not to give in, not to give up, to make 2022 your year that you're going to overcome your symptoms. You're going to be symptom free. It's 6 months left in the year, and it's still a doable thing. But the main point that I want to make is that it's really up to you. You say, hey, I didn't ask for these symptoms. Well, I get that. I understand fate, providence, destiny. But now that you have them, what are you going to do? And I would strongly suggest and exhort you, be an overcomer. Be someone who says, no matter how many times I fall down, I'm going to get up again. I just read a Japanese proverb this morning. It says, a man falls down 7 times, but gets up 8. Interestingly, that verse, a very similar verse, is found in the Bible. Righteous man falls 6 times, no 7, but he gets up again. You keep getting up. You don't quit. You don't give in. When you're tired, you rest. When you're really out of it, well, you got to limp along. Whatever you got to do, You just keep on doing it, because the minute that you give up, it's game over, and you cannot give up. So let me finish with this today. The point of this story that I just gave to you about this man should be some kind of motivation for you to say, you know what, I felt like giving up. Today you turned into this thing, and I just went back on the air after a month's absence, and you just happened to tune in, and this message is for you, and you know it, because you sense like, wow, this is exactly what I was going through. I'm so discouraged, I was just going to give up, give in. We had an incident here a couple of years back when I just felt there was somebody watching that was contemplating suicide, and I shared that day that is definitely not the answer. I feel in a similar vein, I feel that way today too. You're watching this, and that was exactly where you're at right now. Discouraged to the point to give up. Discouraged to the point to give in. But the moment you give in, it's game over. You're not in the game anymore. You're not in the fight. And I understand. You say, well, I've had enough. And yeah, I've been there a lot. I mean, a real lot. But then God rejuvenates me, and I say, no, can't give up, can't give in, got to keep going forward. Not dead yet. I'm going to keep going forward, and that's what I want to exhort you to do today. I have almost 300 videos on this channel. The content of this channel is pretty deep stuff, deep in the respect that it's not difficult to understand what I'm saying. The difficulty is in the practice of what you need to do. Go back and review the videos. Go back and review other teachings that I've given on nervous symptoms and so on. But don't give up. Don't give in. You can make it if you try, but better, you can make it if you trust God, you believe God, and you refuse to give in, and you keep going forward. Don't give up. And don't give in. Let me pray for you today. Father, again, once again, I pray for my friends that watch. I ask you today, God, to touch them and to help them. I'm confident, some are watching today, and this video came just in time, that we're going to give up, maybe contemplated suicide, whatever it was, leave the house, leave the marriage, whatever. But God, I pray that you would encourage them to the point to say, no, I'm not giving in, I'm not giving up, I'm not going to quit. Like the man I spoke about earlier. I'm going to take the adversity that's been handed out to me by fate, and I'm going to overcome. And I ask you to strengthen them today, all of them that are watching this, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, hey, just real quickly, the usual thing you get on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up. Well, okay, so subscribe to the channel and give me a thumbs up. And especially if this helped you, I'd appreciate the feedback. It helps me to figure out, what you're thinking. But I do have some plans, and I want to lay them out right now for fear of that, I don't follow through. But I have some plans to beef up this channel a little bit too. And because of my business, I have all the things I need. Just haven't been getting around to it. So I hope to do that. So anyway, keep me in your prayers. I'd appreciate it. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll be with you here again tomorrow, and as much as lies within me, I'm going to try to get up these videos for you on a daily basis, minimal, maybe 2, or just a thought I have in my head, and put a video up for you, so we can keep this thing going, because we all need the encouragement in this chaotic and crazy world that we live in today. Do you agree with that? Okay. All right. God bless you. Thanks for being with me, and God willing, I'll be with you here tomorrow. God bless. See you then.